It's like a dance step. 1, 2, 3, boom.
The wild and crazy world of NFL history. Believe it or not, there was a time when what's banned now was totally legal. From trick plays involving towering 7-footers to downright vicious hits, these are the craziest banned plays in NFL history. Let's get started. Let's talk about a tackle that used to be commonplace in the NFL until December 20th, 2004. Ever heard of the Roy Williams rule? It banned the infamous horse collar tackle. Roy Williams injured 4 players with this type of tackle in 2004 alone. But it was one specific hit on Terrell Owens that caused a major stir. Owens was left in terrible shape, sidelined for the final 2 games of the regular season and the first 2 of the playoffs. He broke his leg and tore ligaments in his ankle. Williams wasn't the only one using this technique though. It had been around long before him. Take 1987 for example, when Joey Browner yanked Gerald Wilhite to the ground with a horse collar tackle. This brutal move is now defined as grabbing the inside collar of the back or side of the shoulder pads or jersey, or grabbing the jersey at the nameplate or above and pulling the runner toward the ground. By 2005, this tackle was officially banned. Next, let's shift gears to a move inspired by the great Muhammad Ali himself, the Deacon Jones head slap. Who better to explain it than the man himself? Jones described it like a dance step. 1, 2, 3, boom. In one swift motion, Jones would punch or slap offensive linemen in the head, disorienting them and easily blowing by them for a sack. Sounds crazy, right? But in the 60s and early 70s, this was completely legal. When Deacon Jones retired in 1974, the NFL started to re-evaluate this move. Just 3 years later, in 1977, the head slap was banned. Imagine getting smacked in the head every single play by a 6'5", 272-pound monster. Players like right tackle Cass Banich ended up with ice bags on their heads, and guys like Joe DeLamielleure and Gene Hickerson suffered permanent damage. These are just a couple of examples of plays that were once legal in the NFL, but are now banned for the sake of player safety. Football has come a long way in terms of protecting its players, but it's fascinating to look back at some of the wild and crazy moments in NFL history. The name explains it all, but who was the real reason it got banned? If you watch the Steelers in the 2000s and 2010s, you know no one did it like Troy Polamalu. He would time the snap count perfectly, leaping over the O-line to stop the opposing team in their backfield. Polamalu popularized it, and soon players started using it to block field goals. But in 2017, it was banned because it was deemed dangerous for everyone involved. But what's even more dangerous is when coaches find loopholes in league rules. Bill Belichick took pride in outsmarting the system time and time again. On October 21, 2019, the Patriots were demolishing the New York Jets. New England was up 33-0 with over 10.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, so Bill got tricky. According to the NFL rulebook, if a team has back-to-back delay of game penalties on the same down, it's considered unsportsmanlike conduct, leading to a 15-yard penalty and the clock stopping. But Belichick didn't do that. New England started with a delay of game penalty, but followed it up with an intentional false start penalty instead. This shaved off 90 seconds of time, with the clock continuing to run. On May 28, 2020, the league updated the rulebook to say teams cannot manipulate the game clock by committing multiple dead ball fouls while the clock is running, marking an end to Belichick's trickery. Some plays relied on brute force, like the wedge block on kickoff returns. The rulebook defines this wedge block as 2 or more players shoulder to shoulder within 2 yards of each other attempting to block the runner. In 2009, the wedge block was officially banned in the NFL due to the numerous injuries it caused, particularly concussions. Just a year before, 30 out of 32 NFL teams had used it at some point during the season. Change was needed as multiple players had been permanently injured from the wedge. The hip drop tackle. The banning of this play is often criticized, but the rule is designed to protect star players, no matter how hard it makes it on the defense. A hip drop tackle by Logan Wilson put Mark Andrews out for 8 weeks in 2023. In 2024, this play became officially banned, defined by the league as grabbing the runner with both hands, swiveling hips to land on and trap the legs. This illegal tackle will now result in a 15-yard penalty and a first down. Let's give a shout out to every corner trying to tackle Derrick Henry in the future. Now, although it seems like the league is making it as hard as they can on defensive players, this next play is one they took away from the offense. It's pretty easy to understand why the play was banned after you watch it. These defenseless offense hits became known as crackback blocks, and they were happening all the time. In 2012, the NFL amended the rulebook, making these blocks illegal, but you still see them from time to time in the current NFL. One of the most well-known blocks of this nature was thrown by Juju Smith-Schuster on Vontaze Burfict in 2017. While Steelers Nation and fans around the league may have rejoiced, Juju was still suspended for one game for the block. What happens when basketball players play in the NFL? Normally they turn into great tight ends, but sometimes they become the most interesting special teams players ever. Like in 1969, when 6'10", Morris Stroud became the NFL's version of Dikembe Mutombo. Kansas City Chiefs head coach Hank Stram would have Stroud sit under the goalposts and jump to block or deflect field goals like an NBA center at the rim. This crazy game plan would be outlawed and forever known as the Stroud Rule, making his goaltending attempts illegal. Stroud fell back on his secondary position, tight end, but players have still attempted to do this. Remember 5'10", Randall Cobb trying to block David Akers' 63-yard field goal attempt back in 2012? Teammate Pete Banaszak fumbled it further, then Dave Casper picked up the ball, leading to a touchdown and a Raiders victory. Because of this, the NFL dropped a new rule the very next season, stating if a fumble occurs on a 4th down or after the 2-minute warning, only the player who fumbled the ball can advance it. That was the end of the intentional fumble in the NFL. According to the league rulebook, a player may not bat or punch a loose ball in the field of play toward the opponent's goal line. This was done during a Troy Polamalu play. Additionally, you can't bat the ball in any direction while in the end zone, which is exactly what KJ Wright did in 2015. This play sealed the game, with the Seahawks ultimately winning 13-10. This rule was already in place before these incidents, a play that's left many officials lost and confused. This call has been missed so many times in recent years, and it all started with some hilarious actions on the field. Just watch this.
Nobody has even come close to Cook, who goes to the back of the end zone as time expires.
Now, you might be wondering, why didn't anyone rush the punter on this play? As we look back, every single lineman is intentionally holding. They're doing this to run down the clock, trying to drain the remaining time. Baltimore held their opposing players to close out the final 11 seconds of their victory over Cincinnati. This ridiculous holding play was 100% legal. Now, games can't end on defensive penalties, but they can end on offensive penalties. Here's where it gets tricky. According to the league, this could have been considered a palpably unfair act. But only if it happened twice in a row, not just once like it did here. If it had been a palpably unfair act, the clock would have reset to the same time as before the play started. So technically, this play is still legal if you only do it once, and the Ravens are notorious for this tactic, most famously doing it in Super Bowl 47, shaving off 8 seconds to keep the 49ers offense off the field for a final play. But sometimes, the NFL rulebook just hasn't caught up to how creative and skilled the players are. Remember when Michael Vick pulled off this move against the Panthers in 2004? He was called down for a fake slide to spin. Arguments have been ongoing ever since. For instance, when Kenny Pickett pulled off a similar move in the 2021 ACC Championship game, it completely froze the defense. Opposing head coach Dave Clawson explained it best. Thanks for watching. Please like the video, press the subscribe button, and also drop your thoughts in the comment section.